The gun control debate heating up in the wake of recent mass shootings. San Francisco officials passing a resolution that labels the National Rifle Association as a, quote, domestic terrorist organization. And the city's Board of Supervisors, they're urging the federal government to do the same. The NRA slamming the move as, quote, a ludicrous stunt. This comes as supermarket giant Kroger joins Walmart in asking customers not to bring firearms into their stores, even in states where open carry is allowed. Jesse, you know, you hear about this, the Democrats saying, hey, what about a assault weapon buyback program, right? And then some people on the right say, oh, confiscation. But nobody's talking confiscation, so I'm wondering, how does a buyback program strike you?
Beto is talking about confiscation. I heard the words come right out of his big mouth. And listen how ridiculous that is. People like to say, you know, there's 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants in this country. You can't just round them up. It's impossible. It's too many people. Where there's hundreds of millions of firearms in this country, and they're this big, and they're this big, they're not people. How are you going to confiscate and round all those up either? It's impossible.
Buyback is not a confiscation.
No, because Beto wants to confiscate
Beto is not everybody.
Okay, well, you know what? He has the left-wing fringe, and people are rallying behind that. The San Francisco thing is ridiculous because an illegal alien was just there, 5 times deported. He's a felon. He shot an innocent woman with a firearm, and he gets acquitted. He gets protection as a sanctuary city. But a law-abiding NRA member is labeled a terrorist? That's absolutely crazy. No NRA member has ever done a mass shooting. In fact, NRA members have stopped mass shootings. And I have statistics here from the FBI. Rifles only account for 403 murders out of the 15,000 murders per year. And not all of them are even AR-15s. So if you get rid of an AR-15 or a rifle, that doesn't stop murder. And that's just assuming that criminals are able to legally buy a gun, which they can't.
All right, so Jedediah, I heard this a little differently than Jesse did. Jesse heard the San Francisco Board of Supervisors talking about NRA members. I heard them talking about the NRA and its weakened leadership at the moment, and specifically saying that if you have an idea like more thorough background checks, closing gun show loopholes, the NRA says, oh, that can't have that, not going to happen. Even NRA members support those ideas, Jedediah.
They're also saying that the NRA is inciting gun violence and inciting gun owners to violence. And I think that's a pretty crazy claim. I don't think, you know, you can say that the NRA is unilaterally out there making criminals out of people. I don't understand. I mean, I understand the solutions you just mentioned, expanding background checks, gun shows, closing, those are reasonable, I think, to many. But when you take that step and you go from there to a gun buyback program, which, you know, someone like Beto is saying should be mandatory, other 2020 Democrats are saying should be voluntary, that is a completely different direction. That is something a lot of people aren't going to get behind. I don't see people around the country willingly saying, oh yeah, I'm gonna sell you back my self-defense weapon, which is what the AR-15 that they're talking about all the time is to a lot of people. They're just not going to do it. And then what happens when people don't do it? Is the government going to then take them by force? What's the next step of that? Because that's not what this country is built on. If you look at the way the country is founded, part of that was that they wanted people to be entitled to protect their freedoms and defend themselves and their homes. And wait till people in rural areas hear this, where when you pick up the phone and you go to call the police, it takes them a really long time to get there. These people rely on themselves to protect themselves and their families. So I think that those are two separate conversations. There are some reforms that I think are palatable to many, but that's not where 2020 Democrats are headed.
All right, well, let's see about palatable ideas and go to Dana. Dana, what's your reaction to Kroger following in Walmart's footsteps on saying don't bring guns into the store?
So it's super interesting. I've been trying to read a lot about it. I've read both sides. More people on the right, I've read today, that are very frustrated, saying, okay, here's woke capitalism, it's here to stay. But I also think that because people are so frustrated with Washington, right, nothing gets done in Washington, that these private companies are making decisions, and I feel like private companies can make decisions that they want to make. I mean, that's a conservative point of view. So I think that they can do whatever they want, actually. And that might mean that they'll lose customers, but I have a feeling that they've already factored that into their decision. The other thing about San Francisco is that it is not a place for a county supervisor to decide that an organization is a national domestic terrorist organization. To me, this was just attention-getting, and she got a lot of it. But really should get a lot of attention is that a lot of people, like my friends that live on the outskirts, they don't even want to go into the city anymore because it breaks their heart because it was a city that they loved. And now it's a place where there's so much crime. I mean, you might know better. You live in California, but it's become a place where when we were there a couple weekends ago, we didn't even bother going in. And I love that city. Oh,
I love San Francisco. I don't think crime is out of control, but I think that things like, especially when we talk about, personal crime, I think it's...
But the homelessness, the problem...
I mean, that's a different issue.
There's a lot of problems that they should focus on. When you're the county board of supervisors, though, that's what you should do.
Michael?
I think the NRA should come up with a counter nickname to San Francisco and call them like Poopy Town or something. It's ridiculous. The NRA is a great organization. They train gun safety, and to what you were saying, it's not like NRA members are running around killing people. This whole thing, everybody needs to take a deep breath. Everybody keeps screaming, do something, and nothing good ever happens after do something. When your girlfriend is like, do something, that's when you get your face busted, you get into a fight. So take a deep breath, and it's Walmart. They're not going to sell ammo anymore?
Certain types of ammo.
That's ridiculous. That's completely ridiculous. So I expect them to stop selling auto parts because guns kill people. Let's get rid of the dairy department because cholesterol kills people. You're just going to have a big empty store, and then they can just knock it down and plant corn and say, I remember when all this was Walmart.
Oh, my God.